Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Gomes. It's Sunday, April 25th. I have to look at the clock, and yes, I'm coming to you at an interesting time. First of all, I'd like to make some announcements. I will be going to another video setup fairly soon. I had an accident and I lost a lot of equipment, and hopefully in the summertime I'll be restoring that and getting back to something which is more um, high definition. Okay, so in the meanwhile, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to just share some thoughts, share some news and some thoughts, and then we'll start on with the astrology. First of all, I am happy to announce that I will be engaging in a video broadcast. It'll be a shared video broadcast with Lilita Donatella, who's a very gifted astrologer, and we'll be discussing some of the astrocartography techniques that I use on this particular broadcast. So that might be of some use to practicing astrologers. And we'll also have a discussion with her on nakshatras as archetypes. So that's a more in-depth kind of a presentation than we normally do on this show. The other thing is, I would like to encourage people, especially now that we have a chance to talk with each other in a calm, cool, and collected manner, that we do so. I think one of the things that's disturbed me most about the past few years has been that we haven't really managed to sit down and discuss things that concern us in what I would consider to be a fair, balanced perspective from both sides. And that bothers me, just astrologically speaking. I'm a Libra, I'm a Western Libra and a Vedic Libra. So I like arguments, I like arguments, I like discussions, I like to discuss perspectives. But if we're only hearing one perspective from either side, we're not hearing perspectives. We're not hearing alternate viewpoints. And I think one of the things which has been disturbing to me is having on both sides of the political spectrum, if it's something they don't want to hear, they automatically shut down. It's gone. It's off the table. And also, if somebody has a perspective which is slightly out of line, there's a boycott or a cancel threat. People have a right, of course, to protest against whomever they wish to protest against. That's not the point. I don't think they have a right to take people's livelihood away because of some view or perspective they hold. You're free to disagree with me, but that's disturbing. So people can boycott, people can do all these other things. That's fine. That's a free exchange of ideas. And I really don't want to see hurtful speech encouraged by anybody. For those of you who know me personally, that's not my manner. That's not what I believe in. That's not what I propose. But it's also shutting down a dialogue because you don't agree with the perspective. It's not, and I say it bluntly, it's not a healthy way to live, because you're stuck in this feedback loop. When we have all these feedback loops on the internet, we're stuck listening to people we agree with all of the time. So it's just as somebody who's maybe a little bit older, maybe not necessarily wiser, but I'm concerned about a future in which we can't listen or talk with each other. So that's just my perspective. And as I said, for those of you who know me personally, I'm an internationalist. I'm not I love the United States, but I'm an internationalist. You know, I love the world. So I think that as we go on, as we proceed, let's tune it down a notch, and try to, in the words of Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was really not a popular president, but it was a good term, let us reason together. Okay, so probably would have been considered a great president if it hadn't been for the Vietnam War, to be honest. All right, so let's go back here. Let's share the screen. And he was also one of those presidents who did things for political gain that actually turned out to benefit the country overall. And so there's nothing wrong with doing that. All right, so let's look at the chart for now. Now, this is going to be an exciting week because we have, change it to New Bedford, which is where I'm coming from. So the time and the longitude and latitude will be correct. So that's enough preaching on my part. You guys do whatever you want to do. Just don't hit me. All right, so this is the chart, which is occurring as I'm talking with you right now. So we have a Cancer rising. Moon is in Virgo, which actually is one of my favorite moon placements. It's really, it's probably what prompted the discussion about discriminating, about encouraging people to use some discrimination or some kind of thought or consideration of other people, because it's a very careful sign. Mars does aspect the moon, so I'm talking about aggression in speech. Saturn is aspecting, so let's go to the planets and the signs. Mars is in Gemini as we're talking right now. So that'll give more energy to Gemini risings, which we'll talk about later on in the presentation. Oh, also one thing I forgot to tell you, I'm going to be talking at in September at the Archer Video Curriculum. It's the 25th. It's a big anniversary for them of their activities, and I'm honored to be asked to be a speaker. So I forgot to mention that. My apologies. So we have no planets in Cancer. The rising sign is just passed over into Cancer from when I was talking. So we went from Gemini to Cancer pretty quickly. And the rising sign is in Punarvasu Nakshatra, which is ruled by Jupiter. So is that request for reason speech. We have nothing in Leo, nothing in, or the moon in Virgo, excuse me. The A7 is in Libra, so this would give a lot of focus on interpersonal relationships, especially marriage and romantic life, but not necessarily all that, also business partnerships. K2 is in Scorpio, and we have no planets, no real planets in Sagittarius, although we have what's called the Vanada Lagna in Sagittarius. Saturn is in the 7th house in Capricorn, so this creates what they call Asashi yoga in the chart, or a great personality yoga based around the planet Saturn. So it makes us very careful, very cautious, very circumspect, which you noticed I was being. Jupiter's in Aquarius, just eked over into the sign, been there for a couple of weeks. So this is, like I said, this is sort of like a load off for a lot of people who are worried about whether or not they'd be able to accomplish their goals. Jupiter's out of Capricorn, which is never good. Although it did perform what's called the Nietzsche Raj Yoga in Capricorn when it was there, but it's still not really a great placement. It's the significations of Jupiter tend to get a bit ruined, and the positive significations of Jupiter tend to be reason, judgment, wisdom, generosity. All those things tend to be weakened when Jupiter's in Capricorn. It also can't think. Jupiter can only think of like very narrow answers to things if it's in Capricorn, and that's where a lot of the my way or the highway sentiment came from over the past year or so. And we have a Sun, Mercury, and Venus conjunction. Venus and Mercury are finally moving away from combustion. They're not quite out of it. Venus will be totally out of combustion around mid-May, and Mercury almost always remains close to the sun, but the sun is exalted right now. It's close to it's at a very high degree of exaltation. And if we go down here to the other chart, and Rahu's in Taurus, it's right in the middle of Taurus, so it's very strong. So there's a lot of materialistic energy right now. A lot of people are really wondering about whether or not they're going to succeed, whether or not they're going to be successful. And there's a very strong desire for fame and security and wealth. Mars is in Gemini. Mars in Gemini will give a lot of anger in communications. But that's been true for a long time. This really isn't the sole generator of that. I have noticed it's made people much more impatient driving. So just be careful driving over the next couple of months in particular. And the main reason for that is because Mars is heading towards Cancer. The next 2 months, 4 months, be really careful driving. It's really not going to be the best time to be outside. Okay, so the most important thing, though, I think, that's coming up this coming week is we have a full moon. And it's a large moon. It's a pink full moon. Now, that's usually associated with an eclipse, but the eclipse is going to come May 26th, and I'll talk about that a little bit. So let me go to April 26, 2021. Talk about the May eclipse in a few minutes. Okay, so that eclipse will occur on April 26th. Let's go to PM and see what that shows you. So we're talking about the eclipse occurring very interestingly when I'll show you when the eclipse is going to occur exactly. Let's go to 23. So 13, 12. So it's going to be around. I should have done this before. I apologize. 23. Right around. Yeah. So we're talking about the not the eclipse, but the full moon happening basically right around April 26th. It'll be for New Bedford, for people in New Bedford. It'll be on happening around 11:30 at night, just a little bit after that. So you can see the sun's at 12 degrees and 57 minutes of Aries, and the moon's at just make sure I'm sharing the screen. I haven't shared the screen. Share the screen. So the sun will be at 12 degrees 57 minutes of Aries, and the moon will be at 12 degrees and 57 minutes of Libra in a few minutes from then. And that's a spring, that's a cardinal full moon in Vedic astrology. Okay, so cardinal means chara or changing. So things change. If we go to the last full moon, it was in what's called a Shabbos sign, which is essentially the same as a movable sign in Western astrology, or a mutable sign, in Western astrology. And this goes to a cardinal sign, so action will start to take place during this full moon. And especially in relationship life, especially in communications, and people will start to put a lot of focus on relationships, especially if they've been felt to have been hemmed in or tied down by relationships. Also, if we start from the sun sign, so this is going to be kind of a big week. There are going to be changes. So we take it from the rising sign that occurs when this full moon occurs. Rising sign is in Sagittarius, and that's connected with Jupiter. Jupiter's in the third house. So it's going to make people want to learn new things, want to do new things, explore new things, travel, all those kinds of things, all that sort of thing. There'll also be a focus on money and feeling lack thereof, as Saturn in the second house, but a strong determination to make money. And if Saturn's in the second house, money will be made, but it will be made slowly. It won't be made quickly, but there'll be a lot of work connected with it. But the good news here is, the really good news here is, you have 3 planets in the 5th house. So a strong desire for education from Jupiter, but strong intelligence, especially about communication and romantic involvement, and maybe even potential for relationship life for a lot of people. Okay, so this is a really strong moon. A lot of truth about relationships will come up. And you'll have a lot of arguments about relationships too, because of the Mars and Mercury exchange. Okay, so, and as a friend of mine, Shania Davy, had pointed out, essentially there'll be a lot of power struggles in this moon. I'm not getting it from the same planet she uses, but I'm getting it from so she would use Pluto. If we can expand that, we use Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, and I don't, not normally, but I'll include it. But I'll also include this to show you how the perspectives can mean the same thing using different elements. So Pluto's in the second house with Saturn. That has to do with the base, with the foundation of life. Neptune's with Jupiter, so that may give unrealistic dreams or goals, or desire for drunkenness, or for intoxication, or for losing oneself. But also, if you look carefully, you have the house of relationships is occupied by Mars. So there are going to be fights and there are going to be power struggles of our relationships. This is not really unique to this sign placement. Rahu is in the sixth house, and Sun, Venus, and Mercury. So people want to be in love. They want to feel intensity in their life. They want to do stuff with their lives. And that's something that we haven't been able to do with the pandemic. It's something that a lot of us have been able to do. So I can do this. I enjoy talking to you folks. I get a lot of excitement and pleasure from doing this. And by the way, another new announcement, I will be doing live Instagram feeds very shortly. Can't exactly say when. I'm hoping after mid-May. So at least you'll have a chance to interact with me and ask me specific questions and ask me, and I can discuss upcoming events with you one-on-one. So stay tuned for that. So Venus, Sun, Venus, Mercury, a lot of people will be concerned about their appearance, be able to be concerned about the appearance of the person they're with. And Mars will give a lot of passion to relationships, both in a positive sense and in a negative sense. So there'll be a lot of passion, a lot of desire, a lot of ambition, but also you'll see a lot of people willing to fight it at the drop of a hat. It's not, so this power struggle, if we're taking the Western combination, it'll last for years. It'll take at least 7 to 8 years to clear, or excuse me, about 2 years to clear out because Saturn's going to move to the next sign, or less than 2 years to clear out because Saturn's going to move to the next sign. But if you take the Eastern approach, the intensity of the struggle will be gone within about 2 months, and within about a month and a half, and certainly by early spring next year, when Rahu goes back into Aries. So you'll still see a lot of drive for relationships, but also less concern about them. It'll be paradoxical because K2 in Libra will give source of what I would say would be mismatched relationship partners. And what I mean by that is one person will seem much younger, much older. Another person will seem like it's not the right kind of person for that kind of a fit. You'll be attracted to the unusual or the bizarre kind of person. Somebody who's basically not your type. And I think that'll be interesting for a lot of people because I think you'll see a lot of spiritual marriages taking place. But that's in 2022. I'm getting way ahead of myself. And also for this month ahead, we can expect to see again a lot of what I would call social violence because Mars is in Gemini and Mercury's in Aries, and also a lot of focus on gains and improvement of luck for most people because the Lord of the ninth house is in the fifth. That indicates gains based upon past life credit. A lot of cleansing to be done for certain signs. A lot of clearing out of like useless or unnecessary relationships is indicated when we have Rahu and Ketu in these signs. And also for certain combinations, because we have Saturn in the fourth house from the moon, this can also indicate the start of establishing yourself in a new career or a new field. So this placement is called the Kantaka Shani in Vedic Astrology. And I've been through a couple of them, and essentially what it means is the person's essentially, so that they won't be able to rest on past laurels. They'll have to prove themselves all over again to a new group of people. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Life is really a continuous process of growth and shedding of skin as our entire body, I remember this from the late 1990s, our entire body changes every 7 years, so essentially all our cells are replaced every 7 years. And that seems appropriate because we have this Saturn. This Saturn makes us establish a new foundation. I'll certainly be establishing a new foundation over the next few months in terms of what I'll be teaching, what I'll be promoting, what I'll be doing, even on the internet. So I think that, and this will be true for a lot of people after this month. So they'll start to get really, really serious about their careers and their life goals, and start to really push in those particular directions. So you're going to see a lot of action, a lot more action than you saw this month. This past month was chaotic action. March was chaotic action, and that was really when Jupiter was just going through his final throes in Capricorn. It'll be back in Capricorn in September, so you'll see a lot of stuff that has to be cleaned up around that time. But basically, I think you'll also see a lot of growth for people, a lot of new opportunities, and a lot of new career growth. So let's look around the world and see what's happening where. So things to look forward to this full moon. This full moon is a very intense full moon. Saturn in an angle, Pluto in an angle from it, Jupiter in a trine from it, Neptune in a trine from it. So again, it's okay to dream big. I don't think you need my permission to do that, but I'm just telling you that it's okay to dream big. Because if you never try, you'll never know. Okay, so if you want to try something new, try it. It may not be the right thing for you. It may not be, it may not be a perfect fit, but damn it, give it a chance. Don't say I can't do it. Okay. And the main reason I'm saying that is because so many people go and say, "Oh, that's never going to work for me. I'm not the right kind of person for that." You never know until you try. Okay. So you can think a lot, and you can sit in the back row and say, "No, I don't want to go up to that mic and do karaoke, or I don't want to put myself in front of a crowd." But you never know until you try, right? I'd like to go to such and such a place, but I can't afford it. Or I'd like to do this and this thing or that thing, but I don't have the nerve to do it, or I don't have the time. Make the time. Neptune, you'll soon find out within about a year's time whether or not it's the right thing for you, believe me. So just, if you never try, just simple logic. If you try, you might not succeed, but you might. If you don't try, you won't succeed, right? This is pretty much the way life works. If you don't try at all, nothing's going to happen. If you do try, something will happen. You may decide, I don't want to do that. It was a stupid waste of time. I could have been doing something else, but at least you tried. At least you know. Okay. All right. The other thing is, in terms of measures, I'm looking for special combinations in the chart. There's the Lord of the first and the third is good for new goals. The moon in the 11th is actually good for new friendships and friendships which will be more suitable to you and will help you with your goals, help you with your ambitions. It'll actually have the weight of this. It's a full moon. So a lot of friendships will go, a lot of friendships which haven't been working out, Saturn will take care of that. And a lot of friendships will come. Okay. So don't worry about that. But it's a time to get rid of stuff. It's not a time to hold on to stuff that you think you need to keep. And I'm not saying do it stupidly. I'm not saying give away all your possessions to somebody and go to live in the woods unless you always want to do that. Okay. All right. So let's look around the globe because I'm at 30 minutes and I want to make sure I don't run over it. Time space change, astro mapping. So let's see where the trouble spots are. Also, I just want to talk about COVID. I think in large part, COVID is not yet beaten, but I actually am somewhat optimistic, and this could be the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. I am somewhat optimistic that it'll be a thing of the past by next February at the latest. K2 will move into Libra at that time. We'll have we'll have other issues on our minds around that time. But basically, this year, I think you'll start to see the United States and most of Europe start to come out of it by June, and a lot of countries that have lagged behind in terms of development or a distribution of virus, antiviral medication, and vaccines will start to do that. I've taken my first shot, and I'll take my second on May 8th. Is it a cure? No, it's not a cure. It's a way of trying to minimize the spread of the virus. Yeah. And also, you're not going to be able to do a lot of things unless you take the vaccine. So just if you have reservations about it, keep that in mind. Some people do get sick, but the most I've heard is, apart from the Johnson & Johnson blood clots, which they're working on, the most I've heard is essentially very severe flu. So it should be, it's a safe vaccine. I'm not saying that as a medical expert, but just astrologically, it looks safe. Okay, so please, if you have doubts about it, as a favor to the people around you, as a favor to society in general, so we can get away from the mask restrictions or the economic restrictions. Nobody's trying to control you with this vaccine. Your DNA will not change with this vaccine. It's basically impossible to change your DNA because your DNA is a substance from which you were constructed. It was present when you were born. It can't be changed. It can't be changed by a drug. Okay, so I mean, I'm not saying this as a medical as a medical expert, but just come on, people. Let's be. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm not stopping you from doing that, but I'm just saying it's just. All right, so let's look at the United States. First of all, we have a sun and a moon line going through California, so we do have a possibility of some it's actually going through Oregon, Washington, and just touching on California. And there's a Venus line off the coast. So are we going to have any eruptions or earthquakes in California? Possibly. We do have a Jupiter line going through California, though, so that should protect Los Angeles, but San Francisco is a little bit more risk. I don't necessarily think there'll be a big event there. And we have any more. We have a Rahu line going through. It's actually going through Texas, so it's nowhere near California. So that's good. And you may start to see the things start to reopen a little bit in California, but again, probably not for a couple of months. The other thing is we have a descending Mercury line passing over Utah, so you're going to get a lot more news out of Utah and Washington and Oregon and Western Canada. And I have a funny feeling it's going to be connected with civil disruption. Rahu line goes through Mexico, Texas. So I would expect the border crisis to continue down there, or the border. I won't call it a crisis. I'll amend that. The flood of people coming in, and going up through pretty much through Michigan, and it looks like Indiana, and I believe it's not North Dakota and South Dakota, that's Iowa. So Iowa and Louisiana will get hit with tides. There'll also probably be an increase in COVID cases in those parts of the country. This is eastern Texas up through Iowa, up through Indiana, and up through Michigan, and even a little bit into Canada around Ottawa. Mars, I look out for earthquake or sea activity or military activity, both in Cuba and in Central America around Panama. And the moon is going through, so we'll have some big flooding in the Amazon region, and also some disruption throughout Brazil, and unfortunately a lot of deaths in Brazil because of the Saturn line going through the northern part of the country and down through where Rio de Janeiro is, and also I don't think deaths with flooding and water problems. And I need to see what this line is. My apologies. Yeah, it's a Saturn line. Okay, so Tierra del Fuego, Uruguay. But hitting England, there's a Jupiter line going by Ireland and England. So Ireland and England look to be in much better shape over the next few months. And there's a rising sun line going over Iceland. So that looks good. So essentially, Northern Europe looks okay. There'll probably be a lot of looking down through. This is a Mars line in France, and it looks like the Netherlands. So we can expect some violent behavior in France and the Netherlands, maybe Western Spain, maybe Northern Africa. I believe that's Morocco. I apologize, but that's, I think that's Algeria. Down through Gabon, which is sort of like over here. The other thing is Sun, Moon, Mercury passing through Turkey, and we have, let me see now, what kind of a line is that passing through Istanbul? I have to look at this carefully. And it looks like a moon line. No, it's a Mercury line. My apologies. It's a Mercury line passing through and a Venus line passing through Istanbul. So that part of the world should get a lot of attention, actually positive publicity. It should see some changes in administration, some changes in leadership, but it should also see some growth or popularity, especially over the next few months. This is also true of Saudi Arabia. And again, we'll be getting some bad news out of Saudi Arabia down through Eastern Africa. Because the Saturn and Mercury lines are kind of conjoined. We actually get some good news out of Iran for once, and by that I mean they'll have some good medical teams, and they'll actually start to show some growth for the people, some more financial growth for the people. And now the thing I am worried about though is India, especially Eastern India has a Mars line running through it. So that to me always indicates some kind of violence or some kind of fires or catastrophes based around that. And the same is true of the southern tip, southwestern tip, excuse me, of Australia. Now, again, I'm going to modify what I just said about Iran because we have a Rahu line passing through there. So there'll be some improvement in the eastern part of Iran, but increasing despair or increasing infection in the middle of Iran and also in Eastern Europe. The other thing is we have a Saturn line going through Australia and New Guinea, and also parts of northern China. And we have a sun line going through Korea. So you should see some political upheaval in Korea over the next few weeks. And we have Venus Mercury line going over Japan. So Japan looks like it's in fairly good shape. But it'll probably be affected by what's happening in Korea. And so the Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter lines they're all benefic lines going over that part of the world. So that looks pretty good. But the areas I'm a little bit worried about are Brazil, the west coast of the United States, Texas through Michigan in the United States, maybe in New England, but that's a little bit of a stretch. But Cuba and Panama and you see now Iran, Eastern Europe, and Korea and New Guinea. So I think those are the trouble spots in the world. Rahu normally causes some kinds of earthquakes, so we can expect more earthquakes in Eastern Europe, unfortunately. And Mars can cause natural disasters or fighting to break out. And again, I do wonder if India and China are going to be at loggerheads again over the next year. That's the most likely place I'm looking for any kind of a conflict to break out. I'm not wishing it upon anybody, to be truthful. But that looks to be the most likely place. If there is any kind of a conflict, I don't think we're going to be in a full-fledged war this year. And unlike a lot of my colleagues, I don't see a full-fledged war for quite some time, like decades in the future. But basically, these combinations are a little bit. They're not bad. They're not as bad as they have been. And also we have the right out of the Kalasapa Yoga, so that helps people move forward a little bit. Now, let's move on to the charts, the individual charts. Let's time the normal for these because I've rambled a little bit today. And let me get out of there. All right, so Aries, a lot of dominance particular sun sign will be very, very strong this month. A lot of aggression, but a renewed focus on relationships, and they'll change their relationship priorities a lot over the next month or so. So like I said, they'll drop relationships that they've been dwelling on or trying to hold on to for a long time and start to pursue new relationships. Career life, they should be starting to do very well over the next few months. For Taurus, this sign should watch out for arguments, should watch out for financial losses, overspending on family, children in particular is indicated. But basically, home will be a focus for this particular sign. Relationship life will be a little bit strange, so relationship partners will seem to be a little bit disconnected, and they should be careful about their personal health during this month. Career looks fantastic for them, as it does for Aries, and they'll actually have a chance to teach and learn new topics and even travel. Gemini has Rahu in the 12th house, so they will spend too much. They'll spend for publicity purposes or to ingratiate themselves to other people. But Moon is in the 5th house, so they'll be more romantically attracted to other people. They'll be more interested in striking up a romantic relationship. Still fearful about getting infected or getting taken advantage of, though. 7th house Lord is in the 11th house, so it looks like they'll start to form a relationship with a person who's been a friend for a while. And Saturn is in the 8th house, so still some problems with getting money from legacies or from inheritances, but they'll be fine financially. They'll be fine. The Sun's in the 11th house, so they'll gain a lot of new friends. So they'll gain a lot of new financial growth over the next month and a lot of power. Cancer has no planets in the Lord of the 1st house and the 4th house, so there'll be, again, be a lot of focus on home and home life. A lot of arguments, so with children, and children will be unruly or pets will be unruly. 6th house Lord is Jupiter, and that is placed in the 8th house, so there'll be a lot of interest in research and a lot of interest in trying to keep their health together. Saturn is in the 7th house, not necessarily a particularly happy time for this rising sign in terms of relationships. They'll be stuck with somebody older or somebody who's disappointing to them. And let me just see now. But in terms of career, they're doing very, very well. This will be the first month they'll be doing like extraordinarily well career-wise, or the first few weeks of the month. So this is where we're really looking at next week. And also with Leo has very variable desires, more contacts with siblings, some detachment or time away from home, problems with children again, but health issues look like they're going to be fine. And overall, good for meeting the relationship partners, good for finding the right relationship partner if you're not in a relationship, good for business partnerships if you are in a relationship. The next sign is Virgo. Virgo's got some money coming in. It's going to be brave and fearless over the next month or so. And you'll also see Saturn is in the 5th house. So again, not as much luck with children as previously. The children will seem to be a bit of a burden, a bit of a weight. Jupiter is in the 6th house. Health-wise, they'll be fine. 8th house, you have a cadre of planets in the 8th house, a cluster of planets in the 8th house. Sun, Mercury, Venus with Uranus. So this will give unexpected career opportunities and unexpected career growth to the sign. And also unexpected legacies. So money will come out of nowhere, basically. Rahu's in the 9th house, so some desire for foreign adventures, some desire to go overseas. Mars is in the 10th house, very good for financial gains and very good for work life. Libra, at least 3 relationship opportunities. If you're involved with somebody already, then it'll give 3 business opportunities. K2's in the 2nd house. There'll be just no pleasing you, to use Austin Powers line. And essentially, this combination, though, is good because the Sri Lagna is in the 2nd house. That's good for money or good for financial growth. And A10, the A10, the career life, desire for a new career on the part of the sign. Desire to start over. Saturn is in the 4th house. So again, it's one of the 5 Panch Mahapurush yogas. So most of home life will be connected with work or effort. And some educational activity, obviously, but I think overall the most important thing here is work or toil. The 5th house has Jupiter in it, generally a lucky combination. If Jupiter sits in the 5th house, the person will be blessed with children or will be blessed with benefits. So this should be a better month. Luck from having done things in the past. And the sun is in the 7th house, so there'll be a lot of focus on relationship life, a lot of interest in getting involved in new relationships. As I said before, Rahu is in the 8th, again, good for financial boons, but there'll be some frustration or some weight connected with that. Mars is in the 9th house, good for romantic life. Mars will give, so if this sign speaks up for itself this month, it'll definitely gain, or the next 2 months, it'll definitely gain. It's really not a bad combination of Mars in the 9th house for this chart. You'll see gains from relationship or business partners, maybe even new activities and new journeys. 10th house Lord is the moon. 10th house Lord in the moon is in the 1st house. And that gives a person really strong ambition and strong drive to succeed. A lot of their focus this month will be on career. These next few weeks will be on career. The 11th house has no planets in it, but although it does promise a certain amount of fame from this combination. And the 12th house, expenses due to relationship life. Scorpio rising. Scorpio has K2 in it. Moon is in the 12th house. So again, expenses connected with learning and education. A lot of emphasis on learning and education, a lot of determination and signs to forge ahead and grow academically. Sun is in the 6th house, so again, concern over disease, but not really so bad as other ones. Rahu is in the 7th house. Dissatisfaction of relationship partner seems to be a little bit edgy and tough to accommodate. Mars is in the 8th house. There'll be some arguments in relationship life. And career-wise, the sign looks fairly good. It'll give a lot of work, but the sun is very strong in the chart. Sagittarius goes next. Sag has Saturn in the 2nd house, so good for wealth, but slowly developed. Jupiter's in the 3rd house, good for travel. Sun, Venus, and Mercury are in the 5th house, so it's going to be good for love affairs or romantic involvements. Although this sign can be taken advantage of by relationship partners, so it has to be careful. Rahu's in the 6th, so some anxiety over illness shows up for the sign, but again, not justified to be a really big thing. And the moon is in the 11th house, so more gain of friends, more new activities coming your way. And K2 in the 12th, more emphasis on spiritual life. Capricorn. Capricorn, its ruler, Saturn, sits on the first house, creates Asasha Yoga, and Jupiter's in the second house, so it should bring a lot of money in it. So this sign will be incredibly disciplined this month, and very focused on career life, as we have said for certain other signs. Sun, Mercury, Venus are in the fourth house. That's going to give a lot of tension and a lot of focus on restoring the house and working on the house, and also a lot of educational aspiration. Rahu's in the fifth house, difficulties to please children or lovers, or relationship partners. And sixth house, Mars is in the sixth house, so this sign, Mars is in the sixth house, so this sign can be a little bit accident prone this month. So I should be careful about that. Eighth, seventh house, Lord is Moon, so the person will not be able to move forward with relationship plans at this time. They'll probably have to put them on hold or in some small abatement over the next couple of months. And in terms of career looks very good. Although, again, a lack of recognition career-wise, but you'll get unexpected help from some people. So Aquarius looks pretty good. Strong desires, strong ambition, but dissatisfaction with home life, arguments with kids, career changing, and a lot of motivation to enter metaphysical or spiritual fields or helping fields for this sign. They'll have to watch out that it doesn't spend too much money though, because it'll be a little bit over exuberant with Jupiter in the first house. So Aquarius looks pretty good. If I'm looking at any danger spots, it's got good courage, but home life will still be disrupted. People will seem to be not happy no matter how much is done for them. Pisces is Sun, Venus, and Mercury in the second house, and Rahu in the third house. So a lot of courage, a lot of ambition. That's a good thing, but a lot of fighting at home. Mars sits in the fourth house. Moon sits in Libra in the eighth house, so that'll make the person feel a little bit locked down mentally or without options for themselves, at least right now. But later on, that won't be so much. And then about 2 months, that won't be so much. And K2's in the ninth house, so it gives unexpected support from people overseas or from foreign countries. 10th house Lord is Jupiter. 10th house Lord is in the 12th house, so the person is going to be involved in a spiritual career or some kind of spiritual job. And 11th house has Saturn, which aspects the first house, so it'll make this sign a little bit difficult. So I'm going to flash the May 26th chart just before I leave. Just going to put it in there. So this is what we're going to be talking about next month, largely. So this is the eclipse chart, and we'll be discussing this next week. In the meanwhile, I have to go. Don't forget, podcasts are coming. Live online sessions on Instagram are coming, and videos with other guests. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you're practicing astrology and you'd like to be a guest on the show, please let me know, and I'll do my best to accommodate you. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and namaste. Gonna get